Good morning, everybody. Good morning. We'll call to order our July 11, 2017 regular meeting of the Mason County Board of County Commission. We'll begin with our Pledge of Allegiance, and if Deputy Wood, if you please lead us.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
That's good with so many people.
If the clerk would please take the roll.
Okay. Commissioner of District 1, Randy Netherland.
I'm here.
Commissioner of District 2, Kevin Schutte.
Here.
And Commissioner of District 3, Terry Drexler.
Here.
Very good, thank you. Item number 4.1, if the clerk would please report the correspondence.
The U.S. Department of Homeland Security FEMA region sent a follow-up report from the May 25th, 2017 meeting disclosing results of the visit. The Liquor and Cannabis Board sent a liquor license for the North Bay Historical Society at 31 East Wade Street in Allen and Huerfanitos Internacionales at 541 Shelton Valley Road in Shelton. The Washington State Department of Ecology sent a letter awarding the Russellwood Wastewater Treatment Plant the 2016 Wastewater Treatment Plant Outstanding Performance Award. Olympic Educational Service District 114 sent a proposed resolution. And the Mason County Community Services Department sent a notice of application and notice of public hearing for North Bay Historical Society and the Port of Allen.
Very good, thank you. We do have one addition to our item for the I'd like to invite Jeremy Hicks up. Captain Hicks, if you'd please.
Morning, Commission. We briefed yesterday and you asked me to come read this into record. Effective at 8 o'clock in the morning on Saturday, we'll be enacting a burn ban, what is commonly considered a stage 1 burn ban. If I could just read a paragraph right here and then you'll all get a copy of this. The Mason County Community Development Director, as acting fire marshal, in partnership with Mason County Fire Chiefs Association, has determined that the current weather conditions within Mason County have created substantial fire dangers and there's a need to enact restrictions on outdoor burning to all lands regulated by Mason County. This burn ban applies to outdoor burning, including land clearing and yard debris, with the exception of recreational fires in approved concrete, stone, or metal pits like those commonly found in campgrounds. The use of charcoal briquettes, gas, and propane barbecues will continue to be allowed under the ban. And there's a section in here that says lands protected by Department of Natural Resources may have different restrictions. To find out more information or determine if you are in Department of Natural Resources area, contact dnr.wa.gov or call the DNR South Puget Sound region at 360-825-1631. And then we've also included what a recreational fire is, which is exactly aligned with the county requirements.
Very good.
Thank you, Jeremy.
No, appreciate it.
'Tis the season.
Okay, that takes us to item number 5 on today's agenda, which is our open forum for citizen input. This is an opportunity for members of the public to come forward and address the commission on items that are not on today's agenda. It's important to note that we allow 15 minutes, and today I think we're going to hear a little bit more people than usual, which is a good thing. And typically the agenda states that we allow 5 minutes per person, but because I'd like to hear as many people as possible today, I'd like to limit that to 2 minutes per person and get through the full 15-minute period. There will be an opportunity next week to speak further to the budget cuts, and I trust that I'll see a lot of you here again next week, and so I look forward to continuing that dialogue, not just today, not just next Tuesday, but in between as well. So if you would like to address the commission on items not on the agenda, now's the time to come forward. I just ask that you very clearly state your name so that the clerk can make a record of it. I will do my very best to keep track of time, but I'd ask you to be courteous and make sure that you allow time for others to speak as well. So please come forward to the podium if you'd like to speak. Deputy Wood, and then Conley if you'd like to come up after.
Want to go first, sir? Okay. Good morning, Commissioners, ladies and gentlemen of the community. I'm Deputy Wood with the Mason County Sheriff's Office. And the reason why I wanted to come today was to fight for my job. And yesterday, a form was, letter was brought out for the briefing about the budget, and it mentioned in it that during your retreat, what you were working for was a responsible and goal-driven county budget. And I would like to encourage you to look at the budget in that framework instead of an across-the-board cut. It needs to be responsible and goal-driven and thoughtful in that capacity. And that's what I'm asking you to do today and in the coming weeks. So I appreciate your time, and I appreciate the community for coming out.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. My name is Conley Watson, and I live at 140 East Fox Lane. And I did some research on the Secretary of State. There's 3 copies in there, one for each. And I would like to point out before, this is on page 1, County Commissioners, RCW 3632-120. And you start off by bringing it up to date. Before an elected official may assume office, election results must be certified and the winner must swear to an oath of office. If a qualified candidate also posts a bond, and I don't know if any of you have, it's not the responsibility of the county auditor to verify a bond. And over the last 30 years, I have been in the venue over the John Tarrant came, he was the mayor of Shelton. He came 3 months in a row, and he asked for 1/16 of the county to add to the taxes. That would have netted you $168,000 a year. Then the next thing on there was a Dodge and the code, and the what we have witnessed in this room is marijuana, the Bay, Shelton Bay, and yesterday the public was here. And I think that you should familiarize yourself with the Secretary of State budget. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Please.
Good morning. My name is Betty Whiting, and I'm a member of the Lake Cushman community. And I'm here to ask you to please reconsider the reduction of the sheriff's we at Lake Cushman are out of the area to the point where our response from the county was jeopardized. And so we in 2008 made up a contract with the Sheriff's Department to have a deputy come up and help us by putting in hours up at our homeowners association. And it's worked very well. Our burglary and theft rate has been gigantic this year. And we do have a deputy up there now, which is very good, and we've worked hand in hand with the department, and it's worked very well. And with this budget reduction, this will be jeopardized. The other thing is that the residents and the business owners of this county depend on you to make a priority of giving them the protection that they deserve. And by reducing this budget in this way is ridiculous. It can't be done. The patrol people, if they don't get to keep their job, then they are worked to death because of the amount of time and effort it takes to cover the county. So you commissioners, and I just asked the question earlier, and Randy was kind enough to give me the answer, receive a 1% raise for being a commissioner. Now, when there's priorities, I would think that you would consider that a no-no, because you have to set priorities. And as a resident of this county, my priority is to have proper police protection, which you are obligated to give us. So please look at this budget and consider the things that are important and give the sheriff that ability, because they go and they get people from the school and they're outstanding, but they only stay long enough to get the experience so they can go where they can get better pay and better timed work. So please consider this.
Thank you.
Morning, Commissioners. My name is Scott Johnson. I'm the Sheriff of Pacific County. I'm here to represent both our citizens and the citizens of Mason County. I'm in the very same boat as Sheriff Salisbury is here, and I've had the opportunity to know him now for 7 years. I know he's very responsible with his budget. I don't think you could find a sheriff that cares more about the citizens and people of the county than Sheriff Salisbury does. And I know that this is just a horrible thing to have to go through. I spent hours in my office with staff yesterday trying to figure out where I need to cut people. None of us in the region are overstaffed. We always struggle for calls. I talk lots on the phone with Sheriff Salisbury, and I know he's always trying to figure out how he can provide the best service with the minimal amount of resources that he already has. What you may not know is that this affects the entire region of sheriffs. Thurston, Lewis, Grays Harbor, Mason, and Pacific County are all in the region. And because we're all short, we share resources when we can. For example, we don't have a SWAT team, and we've had rare occasion where we've needed to call upon Mason County to provide that to us. But we always reciprocate and make sure we give back in other ways. We'll come up here and participate in oral boards or other things so that you don't lose money by providing service to us. And I just want you to know that this will affect the citizens of all the other counties besides just those of you in the room. And I certainly hope that this good turnout today sends a strong message that one place that can't be cut is law enforcement. I know our commissioners always say, well, we have to fill potholes too. I'll tell you what, I've never talked to anybody that didn't feel it's more important than when you call 911 and somebody come to your door than having the potholes filled. And I see a lot of head shaking with that. So I appreciate the time that you've given me to speak on this and hope that you very carefully consider the proposed cuts. Thank you.
Good morning. My name is John Snaza. I'm the Thurston County Sheriff. And like Sheriff Johnson and Sheriff Salisbury, we are all held accountable for our budgets. As a matter of fact, if you looked at any of our budgets in law enforcement, you would say that we do audits almost every year, and we are held accountable for everything we do and what we do to the citizens. By making a budget cut that is proposed today, you are affecting the lives of everyone in this community. Not just Mason County. Mason County is part of Region 3, which Sheriff Johnson spoke of. Pacific, Mason, Grays Harbor, Thurston, and Lewis. We all work together. We're all held accountable for our actions. And I can tell you that you are putting a price on what public safety looks like. You are deciding what a life is worth. You are deciding what a collision is worth. You are deciding that these citizens, not only in this room, but in this community, don't deserve public safety. They deserve to become victims. And by doing these reductions is what you're making everybody here a victim. Because we hold ourselves to the highest standard of public safety. That's what we were elected to do. That's what Sheriff Salisbury was elected to do. And with your help, we can make these communities safe. But if you do the reductions that you are talking about and doing, You are reducing public safety, and you've already put a price on what a life is worth. Right now, it's worth just about $900,000. Next year, it's 17% of his budget. That's a lot of money. That's what you decided a person's life or what a victim should look like. And that's what's happening when you do these budget cuts. It's hard enough out there, and now you're taking away all the tools that you have helped him acquire over the years, and now you're just taking it all away, and you're making this community less safe by doing what you're doing. I'm sorry that I have to say it, but I think that all our community needs to know the truth. Without public safety, you're not safe. And that's what you're doing, is cutting a budget about public safety and having to decide what your priorities are. Is your priority people's safety in this community? People safe, people live, work, and play here. If they're safe here, then they will be here. So thank you. And I apologize that 15 minutes is embarrassing for a commission to have when you're deciding whether you're going to cut somebody's budget by 17%. And you see all these people in here want to hear that. So thank
Sheriff,
you.
if I could just, I just want to clarify a couple of points. We're not hearing the budget cuts today.
You're doing a budget, $900,000.
I appreciate. Listen,
You have people in front of you begging for their job. I'm sorry. And you got a raise.
Actually, I'm taking.
No, it doesn't matter. You guys voted on a raise.
Sheriff, listen,
Thank
I'm
you.
sorry. Listen, I appreciate your passion for this and the rhetoric. I do. But I just want to clarify a couple of points as we move forward. One is we're not debating the budget reduction proposals today. That is next week. And so the other part of that is we are also not looking to cut the budget 17.5% next year. Okay, so that is a fact. I think there's been some misunderstanding as to what we are looking for. It's a 7.3% reduction this year, and the remainder of the 17.5% next year. It's 17.5% based on June 30th's number. So I want to be clear about that. We do have more time for public comment, and so I'd, again, welcome anybody else up.
Good morning. My name is Dean Secor. I live in Hoodsport. I'm retired from law enforcement. And while this is not about budget cuts, it's eventually going to be about that. These people in here in uniform go out there every day and form the line between safety and anarchy. For that, some of them get murdered. I've had 8 friends shot and killed in the line of duty. In some instances, they couldn't get it back up. So if you cut deputies, they could go out on a call, need a backup, and not have it arrive. The other half of that is the citizens in here pay taxes to have that happen, and it can't occur if there's not enough support. Somebody will read this to the criminals because they can't read themselves, and they'll know that it becomes safe to go out and caper, because if the deputy in Cushman is not there, Cushman's wide open. Yeah, it only has one escape route, we can probably catch him coming out. But they learn these things and take full advantage of it and victimize the citizens and victimize law enforcement also. It's the only job that I know of, besides the military, where people kill you for what you're doing, because you're trying to stop them from committing crimes. They're criminals, not community members. Cutting a budget can only result in more crime, which can result in more costs. It's going to tie down the courts, it's going to tie up the jail system if there's enough deputies to make the arrest. If I saw in an article, some of this had to do with unions. The problem is when unions collective bargain with councils or commissioners, it's a mutual agreement. So it's not just on the union. I saw another thing where it said employees that weren't needed, excessive employees, and I don't know what departments had encompassed. But the last time I got up here and spoke, they were talking about getting rid of unnecessary positions. And my response was, why have them? Why hire people you don't need when you can hire people you do need? to get out there and enforce the law, because without them, all your other budgetary concerns are going to be null and void. Because the bad guys, as we call them, are going to get out there and caper and victimize the citizens, and they victimize the law enforcement people. So before you consider cuts, go somewhere else with it. I saw also that overrise on the Belfair sewer system, septic system, sewer system had some impact on the budget. There are people in place that should be able to watch those kinds of things. And contracts can be written where those kinds of things, if they do happen, the company responsible for the job eats most of the cost. Probably need to get somebody that can research and write grants to help you with law enforcement at least. Because for every single officer out there, there has to be a couple of, maybe 3 or 4 clerical people to handle the paperwork they generate. Because if they did that themselves, they would never be out on the street. As a detective, I handled filings with what we call the district attorney, you call prosecuting. And half of my Monday was spent at the DA's office filing paper instead of investigating the crimes that were referred to me, because we didn't have somebody that could do that. So you need to consider those types of things. When you have employees, you've got to have backup for the employees in 2 ways. One, on the streets is most important, because if they don't do their job, nothing happens. I'll stop in just a second. Then the clerical staff to back them up as necessary. You have to consider that in your budget and find some other way to cut. Thank you.
Appreciate that.
You bet.
Sure. Just one clarification, let you know, sir, the Belfair sewer, the Belfair sewer is not part of this situation. All that comes out of a different pot of money called real estate excise tax. Yeah, I'm just letting you know, though, that it's not, and it comes out of 09. That money can't be used for the sheriff or anything like that. Just wanted to express that.
Okay, we have time for one more.
Time for more? Thank you. Morning, Board of Commissioners. My name is Matt Wood. I live out on Arcadia Road, where we just got 3 inches of brand new asphalt on a really smooth, already paid for road. I want to address some comments that were made yesterday during the committee meeting when we were given this document right here. I want to thank 2 of our board members here, our commission members. The gentleman in the middle, he was very open, invited everybody to come to his office and speak to him personally. Ma'am, appreciate your comments also, okay? The 3rd member of the committee used a bully pulpit when nobody was going to be allowed time to public comment to make attacks to the staffing of other departments and other elected officials, okay? He brought up the fact that there was 28% spending increase with only 12% revenue increase. Mr. Netherland, I'd like to point out to you your signs that you put up around town when you ran for re-election here most recently. And I believe the wording on it says, "Thank you, Commissioner Netherland, for supporting law enforcement. Increased Sheriff's Office budget by 44%. 45 new vehicles. New North End precinct. Wage increases for deputies. 8 new deputy positions funded. New patrol boat and marine deputy. Experience matters." Okay, you took credit for all these things that you now are telling the sheriff that you looked at his budget, because you couldn't find anything in your own budget. That was the words you used. You only found a couple little things that I can remove from mine. But you said, when you looked down at the deputies and the families in the room, that there were other ways for the sheriff to decrease his budget to not cut personnel. Okay, your sign lists all the things that you're taking responsibility for his budget. Okay, so I just want to let you know, from me personally, I did not appreciate your comments yesterday, and I found them horrendously condescending to the citizens of Mason County who came here. Thank you.
I need to clarify on that.
Mr. Chair, I was called upon, but I wasn't.
Sure, you can. One more.
Yeah.
And
Yes.
Tom,
Hold on. Tom?
Tom, just 1 second.
Couple of clarifications.
Excuse me.
The increases that you spoke about was not in our budget or in the sheriff's budget, it was in the budget overall, number 1. Number 2, all those things that did occur, first of all, that sign was put up by some friends, and that's all appreciated. But all those things that did occur during my time here. But aside from all that, I actually do have an idea, and I'm going to share it with you right now, on how we do not take deputies off the road, all right? Currently, right now, And I shouldn't be doing this, okay? I'm the commissioner. I'm not.
No, you
I'm not the sheriff. But you know what? When we sit there and we talk about all these things and throw out numbers that just aren't correct, first of all, I'll save you $1.5 million right away. What the sheriff sent you guys and sent to everybody, those numbers aren't right. They have a $14 million budget. They don't have a $12,320,000 budget. They have a $14 million budget. They just want to leave out the $1.5 million that comes from the roads to pay directly for deputies. That's a lot of money. That's a lot of money difference for scaring people up. But on top of that, let me go on to how we could actually get there, because we can. I've been doing the research on how it can actually happen without taking deputies off the road. All right? Right now, currently, if we were to not fill the positions that are already open, such as the support services positions and stuff like that, we already did the research, and that literally comes up to $500,000. I have the exact numbers, but wait a minute. There's also further parts inside their budget to where they had positions that were not filled for different parts of the year, which is another $200,000. All right, now let's add to that the fact that you have in this county, ladies and gentlemen, we have 5 chiefs in this county. 5 chiefs plus an undersheriff and a sheriff, all right? Out of these 5 chiefs, some of them have never even been an officer a day in their life. But on top of that, let me explain something that we also found out. In other counties, they don't have 5 chiefs. If you go around and you make a phone call, let's use a great one, for example, Pierce County, 800,000 people. You know how many chiefs they have? They have 3. So here's how we can get there.
And I'm going to interrupt you there.
But no,
I will.
Let me finish.
No,
'cause
how many captains do they have? How many majors
like
do
I
they
said,
have? There's a completely different command structure. You're comparing apples and oranges. I can tell you that right now.
It doesn't matter.
Let
me finish my point, okay, please?
How many points are you going to make before I can counter?
Let me finish my point. So, if you take and lay off one of those plus the unfilled inventory, you don't have to lay off those deputies on the street. But that's a choice internally. Maybe. Because there's also a Supreme Court ruling that says that the commission actually does have the opportunity to weigh in on that. And we may. And if we do, the whole idea would be to protect the officers on the street, because that's what we tried to do in the first place. There's been $1.7 million spent on outsourcing in the last few years on the Sheriff's Department. Another $3 million in supplementals on top of what we've already given them, which has been these huge increases over the year. I've never thought of myself to be against the Sheriff's Department. I've always been trying to get them everything. And if you look at every single budget we went through, every single request for addition for deputies, that was me on that list doing it. But at some point, there comes to be an end when there's no more money. And as I explained to the sheriff last year, as he put on the radio, he said that if he has any overtime, the exact statement was, if you go over your budget, you're going to have to cut personnel this year because there's no more money. You spent it all.
So at what point can I respond?
You can now, please.
Okay. Yesterday, after you continued with business later into the day, you made a comment regarding the qualifications required for sheriff, that any 18-year-old could do the job, just like you said any 18-year-old could do your job. Okay. You said that the department heads should be paid more because they're the specialists.
I did not say that you should be paid more.
Excuse me, the professionals, who work for the elected folks. Okay? You bring up people who've never been law enforcement before. Okay? Is it necessary for them to be law enforcement to be the professional in their subject matter? Okay, you can't say one thing yesterday and say one thing today. Okay? It's apples and oranges. Okay? You cannot use the fact they're not all commissioned staff. Okay? Because yesterday you said the sheriff doesn't even need to be commissioned. Any 18-year-old can be sheriff. Okay? Nobody else was. Very few people were here in the room to hear you say that. You didn't say it when all the deputies were here yesterday. Okay?
Well,
the next thing is, like I said, if you want to start comparing agencies, go to Pierce County. Ask them how many captains they have. Ask them how many majors they have. Okay? It's a completely different command structure. Okay? Just because a title says one thing doesn't mean that it equates straight across the board.
And I'm going to say this for everybody. All the elected officials except for the judges and the prosecuting attorneys don't have to have the specialty. If you're 18 and you are a registered voter, you can apply for those positions. It doesn't matter if you have no experience at all. You apply for those positions and you win it by election, not by how much knowledge you have or your education background. That goes for me, and that's what I said yesterday. Nobody's holding anybody out in particular. It's all the elected officials, except for those 2.
You just held out all the chiefs who weren't commissioned.
No, I'm saying you got 5 chiefs, and that's 2 too many compared to the other counties. So if you got a lot of excess there, it should be cut at admin first and not the deputies. That's what I'm saying. Deputies should be stay on the road and keep them there. Admin first, not deputies. Okay, sorry. Go ahead.
Tom.
Thank you. Good morning, Commissioners. Tom Davis. I'm in District 2. And my understanding that this is a public comment period. And I would hope that we could allow the public to speak without getting into a discussion. That would be for another venue, another forum that is more bent to being argumentative. But I'd like to bring a little facts into this situation and how it relates to my efforts, both with veterans in the community and public safety. In 2013, there was 2,504 offenses committed in Mason County, and this is information I'm taking right off WASPIC. And that was pretty much of a high right there. There were that doesn't mean that there were one person could have committed several offenses, but still there's 2,504. And then things started to happen in 2014. We went down 72 offenses, and in 2015 we went down 127 offenses, and in 2016 we went down 235 offenses. This is significant. Not only did we stop the incline of offenses, but now we're in a downward trend. A couple of things happened that I think is attributable to this. One is obviously the Sheriff's Department that has restructured itself in a way that's more effective. And of course you'd have to say that there's a certain level of deputies now that we didn't have then, and whoever wants to take credit for that be my guest. I think that's just wonderful. But there's less crime going on today than there was several years ago. The other thing that happened, of course, in March of 2014, the North County precinct opened up, and that was good. And again, that's credit abounds all over for that. And so, but there was one other thing that I'd like to bring to your attention. Also, during the beginning of this decline of crime, which is not radical, so the numbers are entirely believable. It's very feasible that this should happen. Is we started our own programs with our veterans community and our therapeutic courts with veterans and so on. And as a result, and with the cooperation of the Sheriff's Office, who were my mentors at the time, we saw 58 people, and 56 of them did not reoffend. And most of them had a long list of history of offenses. This is a wonderful example of collaboration. I keep telling people, because I'm still so impressed to this day, that when I asked the sheriff for help for the Veterans Mentoring and Advocacy Program, all he said to me was, "What can we do to help?" And that was it. And then I was standing there waiting for the next line, because there's always a string. There was no string. And so he gave me his full and absolute cooperation. And those chiefs became mentors to my veterans. And there's nothing more impressive than that. So I do not agree with everything that happens here or in the Sheriff's Department, but we need to recognize when things do work. Something is working well. When you tinker with something working well, it's not going to work better. It's probably going to work less effective. So I'd like to keep that in mind, that there is more to the Sheriff's Department than just the Sheriff's Department. There are other efforts involved that collaborate with the Sheriff's Department, and we're doing pretty well. I had intended to talk on something else, but I'll wait till next week now.
Great.
Thank you.
Thank you, Tom. I appreciate that. Okay, having gone past our 15 minutes, I'd like to move to item number 6, which is the adoption of today's agenda, and entertain a motion.
Mr. Chairman, I move for the adoption of today's agenda as presented.
And I'll second.
It's been moved and seconded that we approve today's agenda as presented. Any additional discussion? Hearing none, I'll call for the vote. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries. Item number 7, approval of minutes. We have minutes from June 12th, 19th, and 26th, briefings, and regular meeting minutes from June 20th and June 27th.
Mr. Chair, I'll move the approval of those minutes.
I'll second.
It's been moved and seconded that we approve the briefing minutes from June 12th, 19th, and 26th, and the regular meeting minutes from June 20th and 27th. Any additional discussion on that? Hearing none, I'll call for the vote. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries. Item number 8 is the approval of our action agenda. Commissioners will read through the items on today's action agenda. at which point a commissioner or a citizen can remove an item for a separate vote and discussion. If Commissioner Netherland would take item 8.1, Commissioner Jeffries item 8.2, and then I will take 8.3 through 5.
Okay. Item number 8.1, approval of voicing no objection to special occasion liquor license application for the North Bay Historical Society for Allen Days, July 14th through 16th, 2017, and approval to have the chair sign the notice of liquor license application from the Washington State Liquor Control Board.
Item 8.2, this is the approval of the treasurer electronic remittances to MACECOM on 6/9/17 for a total of $107,870.14. To the Mental Health Fund, 600 on 6/10/17 for $21,526.54. VIOP Principal on 6/1/17 for $33,273.37. VIOP.
Just hang on for 1 second as we a little loud out in the vestibule.
VIOP interest payment on 6/1/17 for $5,299.18. That is a bond payment. The Mason County Public Works local bond principal payment on 6/1/17 for $520,000. The Mason County Public Works local bond interest, the first one is principal payment, interest payment on 6/1/17 of $200,900. The Mason County long LGTO 2008 interest payment, another bond, paid on 6/1/17 for $45,255.63. The 2013 LGTO Bond A interest payment paid on 6/1/17 of $3,450. The 2013 LGTO Bond B interest payment paid on 6/1/17 for $36,268.43. The Mason County 2011 Delphar Wastewater Treatment Plant interest payment 6/1/17 $66,270.63. A real estate excise tax 1 interfund loan principal building 8 payment paid on 6/1/17 for $27,896.44. The REIT 1 interfund loan interest payment for building 8 paid on 6/1/17 for $10,027.53. Our family law facilitator payment paid on 6/1/17 for $5,000, and a payment to our current expense fund paid on 6/1/17 of $5,000 for a total transfer from the Treasurer's Office to those payments of $1,088,037.89.
Item 8.3, approval to set a public hearing on August 1st, 2017 at 9:30 a.m. to consider revisions to Chapter 17.03.030 of the Mason County Development Regulations regarding development requirements and performance standards. Item 8.4, approval to authorize Public Works to work with United Way and Mason County Garbage to provide free disposal of solid waste from the day of carrying and utilize a cleanup day under the long-haul contract to eliminate disposal costs of the solid waste. Item 8.5, approval to have the chair sign the application for the fiber optic network construction with Mason County PUD number 3 for overhead installation to the transfer station at 1611 Northeast Sand Hill Road. Is there an item that would like to be removed for a separate vote or discussion? Hearing none, I would then entertain a motion.
Mr. Chairman, I move for the adoption of the action agenda as presented.
And I'll second that.
It's been moved and seconded that we approve the action agenda as presented. Any additional discussion?
I just want to thank Republic Services for their contribution to pay the hauling fees for the United Way Day of Caring. I think we have a lot of appreciation to them for stepping up in the community on this item 8.4.
Very good. Any additional comment? Hearing none, I'll call for the vote. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Aye. Sorry. All opposed? And the motion carries. Takes us to item number 9, which is other business, an opportunity for department heads and elected officials to address the commission. Are there any department heads or elected officials who would like to come forward at this point? Okay, seeing none, that takes us to item number 10. We have public hearings this morning. Item 10.1 is a public hearing to approve an ordinance exempting decks greater than 200 square feet from permitting requirements, and I'd invite staff forward to brief.
Good morning, Commissioners. Christopher Nelson, Mason County Community Services. This public hearing is considered consistency in past requirements where Mason County previously made exempt decks over 200 square feet. Last summer, with the latest building codes, reversed that, making it a requirement for those to be permitted. This increases the burden to citizens as well as staff time with little to no effect on safety. This ordinance would make again exempt decks exceeding 200 square feet that are no more than 30 inches above grade at any point and are not attached to a dwelling and do not serve an exit door as required by Washington Administrative Code 51-51-0311, section R311.4. And so that would just add a section line number 5 to our current Mason County Code 1408.031.
Thank you. Are there any questions from the commission for staff? Okay. This time I'd open the comment up to the public. If anybody from the public would like to make a comment on item 10.1, please come forward, state your name, and then make your comment. Okay, hearing no interested parties in making comment, I'll close the public comment portion of item 10.1, and then I would turn it over to the commission for discussion and a motion.
Mr. Chair, I thank Mr. Nelson for bringing this forward. It was something that wasn't in our code but allowed, and this commission has very much wanted to ease the burden on the public that want to make improvements on their homes, want to do some development, and which always does bring economic activity in the community. And so I want to thank you very much for this.
And just to be aware, I'm sorry that we didn't update that form with your new name on there.
It's okay.
Everything moving forward.
There'll be a transition period. So having said that, I would like to make a motion.
I'll second.
I'll go ahead and make the motion first. I would like to make a motion that the Board of County Commissioners adopts the ordinance in Mason County that declares that decks exceeding 200 square feet are not more than 30 inches above grade at any point and not attached to a dwelling and do not serve an exit door required by WAC 51-51-0311, section R311.4, are exempt from permitting requirements under Title 14, Mason County Code 14.08.031, section 5.
I happily second that.
It's been moved and seconded that Mason County declares that decks exceeding 200 square feet that are not more than 30 inches above grade at any point are not attached to a dwelling and do not serve the exit door required by WAC 51-51-0311, section R311.4, are exempt from permitting requirements under Title 14, MCC 14.08.031, section 5. Any additional discussion?
I have some, there were some comments about some of the things that we've been doing lately when it comes to exempting structures, that we're losing revenue from the county, and that's not how it works. The DCD is not a profit-making entity. So what happens is if we're not out there inspecting it, there's no cost on the county as well. It's not like they go out and inspect it and the county makes money. That's not how it works. It's not allowed to work that way. I had somebody that was asking with our cuts if we could raise those fees more and give that money over. It can't happen that way. That money has to stay in DCD, and it's not there to make a profit. So I wanted to point out, this will move forward to allow people to get more stuff done. It's no loss to revenue for the county. It just means we're not sending staff out there to look at it.
And they're buying more building product.
Yeah.
Okay, any additional discussion? Hearing none, I'll call for the vote. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? And the motion carries. So item 10.2, we have a public hearing to amend ordinance 24-09, which would allow for the adjustment of the 2009 land use permit fees to reflect current costs for services, and invite staff to please brief.
Good morning, Commissioners. Paula Reeves, Planning Manager, Community Services. As you mentioned, much of the work we do in the planning office is fee for service, or in other words, funded by land use permit fees. The permits we require help the county meet state and federal requirements and ensure public safety. Some examples are shoreline permits, land combinations and segregations. You may be familiar with subdivisions and boundary line adjustments, environmental permits required by the State Growth Management Act, and other permits like variances, special use permits, and forest practices reviews. The fees for these permits have not been increased since 2009, when a 1% per year increase was passed. This means that a lot of our permit fees are something like 40% lower than our peer counties in many cases. So it's important to keep these fees current in order to allow us to provide the best customer service possible in a streamlined fashion. We have evaluated 3 options at your request: a 1% per year increase similar to what was passed in 2009, a 2% per year increase, and then a third option, which is a 2% per year increase with an adjustment bringing our permitting closer into alignment with a lot of our peer counties. Again, this just allows us to keep pace with the demand for services and provide and meet our customer expectations. We're also looking at ways to streamline our permitting process. So I want to just direct your attention to a couple of the changes that we've also made to our request. We've combined boundary line adjustment and lot combination at a lower rate. While we're increasing fees, we're adding a service there. In another instance, while we've increased our Mason County environmental permit when a habitat management plan is required, we've offered an additional permit, the Mason County environmental permit alone, at a much lower rate of $115. So flexibility as well as adjusting to meet our present costs for service. Lastly, we are proposing to eliminate the bringing before the hearings examiner a request for accessory dwelling units. We can handle that as planning staff going forward. So those are just a few items on the list of permit changes that we're requesting.
Okay, very good. Commissioners, any questions for staff? No? Okay. Okay, at this time I would open the public comment period. Again, please approach the podium, state your name for the record, and then make your comment. So at this time, if there's anybody interested in making comment on item 10.2, please come forward now. Okay, seeing no one coming forward for public comment, I will close the public comment portion and open it up for commissioner discussion and a motion.
I want to just thank staff for bringing forward a proposal that is very, very well thought out. You went through each of these very carefully, and I especially appreciate the effort we've been doing just in general and in here of reducing the number of permit applications and issues that need to come before our hearings examiner. It's a very lengthy and costly process, and I appreciate our work towards reducing those and making those more administrative decisions. Besides the fact this helps actually cover the costs as per statute we're required to do for the planning staff, built into this is a technology fee to help us get to more online permitting. We're very, very much behind the ball where you could go online in the future and apply for very, very basic and rote permits, a roofing permit, a fence permit, things that take a lot of time out of your day to have to come down to the office, make the application, and all those sorts of things. And I appreciate the fact that we're moving forward to get there. And it's something we've wanted for a long time, and we just didn't have the money to do this. So this builds in the ability to be able to eventually do that. We'd like to go ahead and do it now and then pay it later with these fees, but we'll have to figure out how to do that. So those are my comments.
Thank you, Commissioner.
Again, just to thank you for doing all the work to get us there, and reiterate to everybody, we have to cover our costs. This isn't about making profit, and it's not supposed to make profit. That's the whole thing, is to keep it low enough where people can afford to do it without making it too burdensome on them to get it done. And I can assure you, no matter what we do, it's too high. It's the way it is everywhere, but we're still lower than the others around us, but that's the best we can offer. And again, thanks for all the hard work to get us where we need to be on it.
Okay, this time I would entertain a motion.
Mr. Chairman, I move that we amend ordinance 24-09 to adjust the 2009 land use permit fees to reflect current costs for services as outlined in the attached spreadsheet.
And I'll second.
It's been moved and seconded that we amend ordinance 2409, adjusting the 2009 land use permit fees to reflect current costs for services as outlined in the attached spreadsheet. Any additional discussion?
Just one other thing. Eventually, I hope to have a proposal brought forward that would increase this allowed size of our accessory dwelling units. Right now, it's arbitrarily smaller than I think a lot of folks need. So it's not related, but there's my comment.
Thank you. Any additional discussion? Okay, hearing none, I'll call for the vote. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? And the motion carries. Takes us to item 10.3, which is a public hearing to receive a comment on the private line occupancy permit requested by Jedora Leasing Company, Clarence Williams, trustee for a water and sewer line at 320 East Island Lake Drive, Shelton, Washington, parcel number 32006-50-02116, and I'd invite staff to brief.
Morning, Commissioners.
Good morning.
Loretta Swanson with Public Works. And as Commissioner mentioned, this is a private line occupancy permit, and the purpose is to cross under Island Lake Drive and provide a conduit for a water system and also for on-site septic system. And this will be an improvement to the property. It's moving an existing septic system away from the lake and would allow the property owner to make improvements to the property itself. And I'm not sure if the applicant is here this morning. Don't believe so. Do the commissioners have any questions about the hearing or the proposal?
I don't.
Okay, and staff is recommending approval.
Very good. Thank you. Okay, at this point, I would open this up to public comment. Again, please come forward, state your name for the record, and make your comment. Okay, hearing no comment come forward, I'll close the public comment period and move to commissioner discussion and a motion.
These are somewhat routine but necessary opportunities for us to be aware of where we have some underground work being done across county right-of-ways and roads and those sorts of things. And so this is well reviewed by staff as far as the impact to our public works facilities, such as our roads. And so I don't have any issues with this. So I would make the motion to approve the private line occupancy permit granting permission to run the water and septic transport lines under East Island Lake Drive for parcel 32006-50-02116.
I will second.
Been moved and seconded to approve the private line occupancy permit granting permission to run the water and septic transport lines under East Island Lake Drive for parcel 32006-50-02116. Any additional discussion? Hearing none, I will call for the vote. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? And the motion carries. Takes us to item number 11. This is board reports and calendars. I'll begin, and then we can move to Commissioner Netherland and then Commissioner Drexler. This week has been filled with a lot of meetings about the budget and the proposals that are the proposal that is out there. This following week is going to be more of the same for me. This afternoon I have a MACECOM meeting with the board there where we'll be looking at next year's budget for MACECOM as well. And then also a meeting of the Hood Canal Coordinating Council tomorrow, so I'll be up in Kitsap for that. And then the rest of the week I'll be meeting individually with folks on the budget. And that brings me back to next Monday with our briefings and meeting on Tuesday morning.
I had a meeting, this has been an interesting week with different developers. A lot of people that are looking to do some things up in North Mason. It's pretty great. I did get the word out to the individuals that we did change our code to allow for less expensive hookups for multifamily. I did make those phone calls and get them out. I let you know that I understand now that, without a doubt, Iron Horse Crossing, at least parts of it, is starting. It is going to start to go. What that'll mean to Mason County and Belfair is more hookups, more revenue coming in, because that makes a difference. You know, this county can't just raise taxes. People think they can, but they only can raise it by 1%. That's all they're allowed to do, 1%. But we also get 1% plus new construction. So this new construction coming in, that's money that is not budgeted for, and we actually get a great benefit in the county for it. We also get hookups to the sewer, and money coming in for those hookups. So they have some questions they would like to talk to the county about, direct them to staff. They'd like to look for different ways. If they were to bring in maybe 50 or 100 at a time, would we consider some different fees or stuff like that? That'll be up to the commission and everybody to talk about. But 100 at a time, that's a lot of money coming into the county. So aside from that, I do want to make note that I did attend Candidate in the Park meeting, and it was not called, but Commissioner Schutte was there, but all we did was do this. So there was no illegal meetings that occurred. I attended a barbecue, and I did say hi, but we conducted no business or anything at the barbecue with, Commissioner Drexler. She happened to be there.
Changed, by the way.
Yeah, it's going to be hard, but other than that, we had our regular briefings and had left board meetings this morning. This next week we have our briefings. We have a jury legal dedication on Tuesday of the bench out front to jury legal on behalf of the Masons are doing it. I have a meeting of the association. It's actually called Association of Retarded Children. I know that name's not proper anymore, but it's called ARC. Hopefully we'll get that name changed to where it's more palatable. We have the Economic Development Council meeting. I have a meeting with the director of the North Mason Chamber of Commerce. Derek Kilmer's having an event. That brings us back to our briefings. But before we move any further, Commissioner, I need to make an apology. You know, I've sat in this chair for a long time, and as a rule for myself, it may be different when we argue amongst ourselves, but I try never to be disrespectful to a citizen, even if they attack me. So, sir, I want to apologize to you, because I did raise my voice to you, and I should not have from this position. I do disagree with you, and any disagreement we have, you can always talk to me later, or I can talk to you, but I should not have raised my voice to you. So please accept my apology on that. That's all I have. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. I just wanted to add, I'm very excited. The development not only helps the county revenues, what it does is it increases the customer base for our businesses in those areas too, and that's so important as well. The reality about government services and growth, if you're not growing, you're dying, or you're increasing the burden on the existing community. And so as much as people like to keep the rural lifestyle, unless we figure out a different way to fund services and those sorts of things, you need the growth. And so very excited to have another development come on in town. We had, last week was onto my calendar, last week was our vacation week, so to speak, in that we didn't have meetings and we had a holiday in the middle, so it was mostly desk work for me. But I did want to share, I did meet with, there's a new initiative going on called the Rural Leadership Development Institute, who is coming to Mason County with some private foundation funding to establish a leadership program in this county. There have been many, many different organizations trying to do this in various ways or get it started. And very thankful to the Community Foundation for South Sound for supporting and finding the funding to bring this organization called the Rural Leadership Development Council or Institute into Mason County, and they highlighted Mason County as a county, and the Medina Foundation is one of those private foundations that highlighted Mason County as one that they wanted to do this. This is an effort to bring in or to build our young folk and our up-and-coming professionals into the leadership skills that are needed and necessary for your advisory councils, for eventually going into elected positions, for building community in whatever way and wherever the need of the community is. And what is very exciting about this particular initiative is that they want very much to commingle our youth with our up-and-coming leaders, and so that there's intergenerational learnings going on and mentorship opportunities. I'm very thankful to the Community Foundation for South Sound and some very wonderful leaders in our community for pushing this forward. and we're short $15,000, and I'll be going to the Pacific Mountain Workforce Development Council to try to get that money to fix that, but it's funded for 3 years, short this $15,000 per year. So this is a very exciting opportunity, and we'll have probably the first cohort to go through this this November, and they will actually be more of a the trainers. They'll be handpicked to be people that will be very involved in mentoring along the future cohorts into this program. So we finally have a leadership program going on here in Mason County. I'm very excited about that. Following today's meeting, we'll have a briefing session, and then on Wednesday I have a meeting of the Olympic Region Clean Air Authority. I will also be attending the Hood Canal Coordinating Council meeting on Wednesday in Kitsap County, and then we'll have a Hood Canal Coordinating Council Integrated Watershed Planning Steering Committee meeting the following day, followed by the Cascade Pacific Action Alliance, which is a 7-county accountable community of health. We are the group that determines for our 7-county region how Medicaid transformation monies, which come out of the Affordable Care Act, will be used to hopefully reduce the cost of health care and the usage of health care through innovative type of services. And then I have the regular governance meeting of the Thurston Mason Behavioral Health Organization, and then we'll back here for briefing. Allen Days is this weekend, folks. Don't forget to go up to Allen Days, get your salmon, watch the oyster shucking competition, and maybe even run in the mud. And so that'll be Saturday and Sunday. And then there's the commission briefings on Monday.
Okay, very good. Thank you, commissioners. Takes us to item number 12, which is an adjournment, and I would entertain a motion to adjourn.
Chairman, I move we adjourn.
And I'll second.
We're adjourned. Thank you, everybody. Have a good day.